We're in the middle of a housing crisis, a deep and escalating crisis, and house prices, rents, homelessness are all rising. Social and affordable housing targets are being missed again this year. Hongéir chéim tíhíochta I cur tauchaí na Gaeltachta I Mhail ach fós níl na trolínta planála Gaeltachta feiceagaing agus níl feic déanta I Dave tíhíochta nachfanna nó tíhíocht sóisialta a chur fáil do bhaintear na Gaeltachta in ar geantracha Gaeltachta. Government buries its head in the sand while rural communities are hollowed out, as young families can't buy, rent or build homes in the communities in which they themselves were reared. An entire generation is locked out of home ownership, stuck in childhood bedrooms, in overpriced rentals or being forced to emigrate, and there's no strategy to address the demographic crisis affecting rural communities. This bill in and of itself is not objectionable. The measures it contains are modest, in some cases they're necessary, but it will not solve the housing crisis, and it is deeply misleading for the government to present it as anything close to a serious response. The very real and immediate structural problems driving the housing emergency in both urban and rural areas are being ignored. Today's EPA report shows the serious failure by government to invest in water and wastewater services. Bunmahon and Lismore in County Waterford are a case in point. In Bunmahon, raw sewage enters the river and the sea, and families are prevented from building because of a lack of capacity. In Lismore, the town is subject to frequent water outages, and much-needed houses and apartments are refused planning permission, including 20 units just last week. Until government gets real on investing in infrastructure, we will continue to fail rural communities, villages and towns when it comes to housing. We were told the Planning and Development Act 2024 was a once-in-a-generation reform. Instead, less than a year after its passage, the government is back in here with a clean-up bill. That alone tells us the original process was rushed, incomplete and ultimately flawed. A metaphor, if you want, for government's housing strategy and housing policy. We're not opposing the changes proposed in the bill, but let's be honest, they won't move the dial on housing delivery, and they certainly won't deliver the affordable homes that workers and families so badly need. This bill won't solve the housing crisis, and the government knows it. What we have here is a tidy-up bill for legislation that was supposed to fix planning once and for all. But it won't build homes, it won't cut rents, it won't help a single family locked out of housing. The government asked for constructive proposals. Well, we're tabling them here with our amendments. And if you're serious about solutions, start by accepting them. Sinn Féin is tabling practical amendments to improve the bill, to make it more effective. And we're proposing to empower the Minister to set statutory timelines for judicial reviews so pauses don't become indefinite delays, to guarantee public participation both during the judicial review pause and the planning extension process in line with our House and principles of good planning, to require developers to explain why a project hasn't commenced and to show how they intend to proceed it to avoid speculative landholding, and to reduce the window to commence works after an extension is granted from 18 months to 6 months to ensure extensions lead to delivery. Government ministers routinely challenge the opposition. Well, where are your ideas? Where are your solutions? Well, here they are. Those are the 4 amendments that I've just described there. These are focused, reasonable proposals that would strengthen the legislation without causing delay. And if government is serious about listening, now is the chance to do it. So let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. Planning reform is a tool, not an end in itself. And until government starts using that tool to actually deliver affordable homes at scale in every part of the country, then we'll be back here again, debating more patches and fixes while the crisis deepens. And I just have to say, look, it's interesting to hear government backbenchers seeking to blame all and sundry for the housing crisis. We heard the Taoiseach in here today blaming Dublin City Council, I think, in response to a question from a deputy on this side of the House for the housing crisis. And until government gets real and accepts their role in this, accept that government governs, that government has the executive power to solve this housing crisis, until they accept that, until they get real, I fear we'll be going around in circles and we'll be back here debating the same thing again in another few months.
Thanks, Deputy McGuinness.